Poddin My Noggin, hosted by CK Sims, creating a platform to elevate, educate, and heal by creating a space where people can share their stories of struggle, triumph, and redemption. CKS Media.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Poddin My Noggin. I'm your host, CK Sims, and this week's topic is on forgiveness. And to talk about forgiveness, we have Katharine Giovanni. Did I say that correctly?
You did.
Okay, perfect. Welcome to the show, Katharine. It's great to have you here.
Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, let's get into it. So I read your biography, if you will, like what you wanted to share, and some things stood out to me. So you are a best-selling author.
Yep.
So congratulations on that. With your latest one being, of course, my brain just went. It's Forgiveness is in the title. The Ultimate Path to Forgiveness, Unlocking Your Power. So by Katharine C. Giovanni. Before we get into this, because I find that it's a really interesting topic, and I have some questions for you on it, bring us back. You had mentioned that you had some rough times in your teenage years.
I did. You can't teach forgiveness unless you know its opposite.
Like this. Okay.
So the universe has provided me with entirely too much contrast, to be honest. It's probably started when I was in the 8th grade in never mind what year it was. Dinosaurs were roaming. Okay, it was 1974. There you go.
Okay.
And I was in the 8th grade. And I was horribly bullied because I was different. And my parents were very pickled people, meaning they were raging alcoholics, and they were getting a horrible divorce. So because of everything that was going on that year, I tried to commit suicide because I figured the world would be better off without me. I was in the 8th grade. I was a kid.
Of course.
Friend talked me out of it. And so I ended up just bouncing through life as one of those kids. You know who I'm talking about. And I was kind of always dark, and I was always sick, and I was always tired, and I was angry. Lord knows I was angry. And I continued kind of on that horrible path until my mother fell down a flight of stairs, broke her hip, and ended up in the hospital. Even my mother couldn't get a gin and tonic in the hospital. So we took advantage of that and sent her to rehab. And I spent the next 3 years with her, and it was gorgeous. We were closer than sisters. We completely forgave each other. We did everything together. We traveled. And then she died of breast cancer. And that was kind of the flashpoint of my entire life. And I realized very quickly that if I didn't get my own act together, I was going to die. So I have now been sober for 34 years. This was about 34 years ago. And I got married. I've been married for 33 years. Do the math on that one. And I am a breast cancer survivor and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, forgiveness, when you first get sober, most people go to AA and rehab, and you have to do these steps and you have to make amends. And they want you to reach out and call people. I am an extroverted introvert now. Back then, more than just shy. I was the shyest person you ever met in your life. So to reach out and call people. We didn't have texting back then. We didn't even have dial-up mode. There were no computers. I would have loved to text people. Couldn't. But the thought of calling somebody who might yell at me, left me stone cold. Not going to do it. But I did some forgiveness work. And right there, it was just lip service. You kind of mean it, you kind of don't. But the thing about forgiveness is everybody tells you have to forgive. Your pastor, your parents, everybody. Nobody teaches you how.
Very true. Very true.
And what if you don't want to? Then what?
That's the other side.
On a 10 scale, with 10 being unforgivable, horrific, and 1 being the easiest person in the world to forgive, every single person listening and watching this broadcast is thinking of their number 10 person. Every single person. That's why forgiveness trips everybody up, because your brain immediately, your knee-jerk reaction is to think of the one person in your life that really did it, that really, really hurt you. And you don't want to forgive that person. And that's completely fair. And in my world, you don't have to forgive the unforgivable, because there's a lot of people, places, and things. And I did say places and things, so stay with me. Before you even get to that dumpster fire. So I didn't really even figure out the special sauce to forgiveness until many, many years later, in like 2020, 2021. We finally figured out the exact method to forgive. And I've now come up with a step-by-step system exactly how to forgive. And I have gone back into the past, and a lot of people call this shadow work, but I've done the shadow work, and I have gone back there and picked apart the entire thing.
So I'm just popping back to the teenage years for a second. Like for me, my parents weren't alcoholics, they weren't getting divorced, but bullied in school, shy, all of those things, like that resonates with me. I'm like, I had that similar experience.
I got your back on that one, my friend.
Yeah. And when you also said introvert, extrovert, or the other way around,
extroverted, introvert.
that's who I am as well, right? Like I'm like a social butterfly, but I only have a limited capacity. So I need to like pull it back.
I knew I was going to like you when I saw your podcast. Yeah.
So I mean, your mom had breast cancer and she passed away from it. You had
I had stage 3 breast cancer as well. I don't carry the gene, which is weird, but both my grandmothers and my mother all died of breast cancer. So there's obviously some genetic something going on.
Well, I was going to ask you about the BRCA1 and
I don't carry it. I don't carry it. I was tested, but it was stage 3 triple positive breast cancer. I was sick for 4 years.
You made it.
I made it through that. I've made it through a lot of stuff in my life. I'm not sure why, but I'm still here. See, when you have dinner with the Grim Reaper and you don't go home with the guy, it kind of changes you. So the way I look at life now is completely different than the way I looked at life before. It changes you. You realize you're kind of here for a reason.
Okay, so you look at life now different than you did before, but how did you look at it before?
I think everybody kind of takes it for granted. When you realize there's a chance you might not grow old, growing old becomes something that you want. Not everybody has the chance to grow old, which is why I let my hair go gray. It's why I don't do a lot of the wrinkle stuff, because at one point there was a chance I was never going to be that cute little old lady, and now I welcome it. Well, I could do without the bags under my eyes. Thank you very much. But other than that,
me too.
But when it's a question of now, when you go through something like that, it's like almost like survivor's guilt. It's like, okay, I'm here for a reason. Why? This is the reason to teach people how to forgive
and to tell your story. And to tell your story. It's interesting because that also resonates with me, right? Because I spent 35 years of my life thinking, woe is me. And
me too.
The whole situation was now in retrospect, looking back, primarily self-inflicted as in my adult years, right? It was a faulty set of beliefs that I adopted as a child, then built my life upon it, and then
it's your story, right? And you're proud of it. It became my story. I'm a survivor of alcoholism, both my parents and myself. I am a survivor of suicide, although how I did it wouldn't have killed me, but I didn't know that. I was in the 8th grade. I took a bottle of aspirin and I put the entire bottle. I went to my mother's bathroom and I got the bottle, and there must have been 150 aspirin on my desk. And it wasn't that I was a neat freak, but I spent an hour lining them up on my desk, one after another. And I sat there and I stared at it. And then in my head, I'm very intuitive. That might stretch a few people's brains, but I am. And I kept hearing, call Vivian, call Vivian, call Vivian. I couldn't get out of my head. And that was my best friend at the time. And she actually turned out to be a vascular surgeon. And she saved thousands of lives. Mine was just the first. And she talked me out of it. And, my family to this day doesn't even know. They think I make it up. But why would I tell you? Because in the 1970s, if you're intuitive or you try and commit suicide, they slap a "you're crazy" as a bedbug sticker on your forehead. They put you on meds and they put you in the psych ward. So why was I going to tell anybody?
No, absolutely.
I'm just saying.
Absolutely. You wouldn't tell someone. So here we are, 12 books later, and you've cracked forgiveness, if you will.
I
love how you say that I love the part where you talk about you don't know why Would you say that you searched for the why for a long time, but finally just surrendered to the not knowing, but it is what it is? I'm here.
You could search all you want, but eventually your path is going to find you.
Like that.
And the reason your path is going to find you is when you're angry, it's all you can focus on. Let me give you an example of it. For anybody listening, I'm about to hold a coffee cup right in front of my face. Go over to YouTube and you can watch the whole thing. There you go. This cup, it's actually got tea in it now that I think about it, but this teacup, this represents anger. And when you're first angry, look, I can hold it off to the side. It's real easy. I can manage my anger. This is easy. Me? No, I have nobody to forgive. This is easy. I can talk to people. I can work. But the longer I hold on to it, the more painful it's going to get. And I'm going to keep putting more anger and more self-doubt and more negativity and more hate and more anger, because humans irritate other humans and stuff's going to happen. So now I'm using both hands to hold up the cup. I could still hold it off to the side, but it's starting to get into my conversations now. It's starting to affect me. I'm starting to think about it. I kind of walk into a shop and I smell something and my brain immediately goes back to the person I'm mad at. And if I continue to hold on to it, now I'm holding it in front of my face. My life has stopped at this point. I may have one friend, because who wants to be around me? I'm negative all the time and always talking about it. This is all I can see. I can't see any other opportunities because all I can focus on is the anger. So what my forgiveness system is designed to do, it's designed to get the anger and allow you to put it away permanently. So once you are not focused on your anger and your story, then you can focus on what's around you. You're going to pay attention again. Your dream significant other might have just walked by you. Well, you didn't notice it before because you were too focused on the anger. You didn't pay attention. Your dream job, a money-making opportunity might just walk in the door. You can pay attention to it now. That's what the system's designed to do. And on that 10 scale, I want you to start with the number ones. You start with the easy ones and you work your way up. And I can go through the exact process if you want. That's fine with me. But that's the process. And the whole, the secret sauce to the entire method is so many people have come up to me and said, I did the work. I did forgive them. Yeah, you did. But I'm still thinking about them. What am I doing wrong? Not doing anything wrong. You didn't forgive the energy. Mic drop. Boom. Einstein proved that energy is neither created nor destroyed. It just transforms from one thing to another. And when you get angry, we all think that it leaves our mouth and it dissipates into the universe. It does not. It hangs around your energy field until you clear it.
Yeah.
And everything has energy. Humans have energy around them. And even this little, microphone I have in front of me, this inanimate object has energy around it. So you forgive the energy. That's why I said people, places, and things. I've forgiven a lot of things in my life and everything has energy around it. So before I talk about the energy and what exactly I'm talking about, let me give you a few PSAs. First of all, just because I forgive you doesn't mean I want a relationship with you. I probably don't. Okay. Forgiveness does not necessarily mean repair.
Of that.
That's one. Now, the other thing that trips absolutely everybody up, I think we were taught this in kindergarten when our teacher said, no, go say you're sorry, and then you go off and play with each other. Okay, I think that taught us something that shouldn't have been taught. Just because I forgive you doesn't mean I'm giving you a pass. It doesn't mean I'm giving in and saying you were right all along. Forgiveness is selfish. You're still wrong. You're still a nuclear waste fire. I still don't want a relationship with you. Forgiveness means, and it's a real simple thing, I want your name out of my head. That's it. I want it out of my head. I want to stop thinking about you. I want to stop the memory. I want to live my life again. I want you out of my head. And that's what this is designed to do. Now, the people who say, well, you can forgive and forget. I'm from New York. Your girl's not forgetting anything. There might be a unicorn person on the planet who can forget. I'm not your person. It's like those old sayings that are kind of wrong, like the saying, I'm going to kill two birds with one stone. Why are you killing birds? They didn't do anything to you. Stop throwing stones at them. Cut it out. So this is the same thing.
Because I use that saying.
Well, you won't anymore. Every time I hear somebody say kill two birds with both stones, I call them out on it every time. And if you want to make somebody laugh 10 out of 10 times, I just wrote a really good joke for you. There you go. Just call them out. Every time you hear that, call them out.
Well, I'm going to
Why
have
are
to
you
call
throwing stones at burns?
myself out in the process because it's totally something I say. You know, what you're saying lines up with how I feel about forgiveness.
Yeah.
It took me a long time to get there, but I realized that when I forgave somebody, it wasn't for them. It was for me.
It's for you. It's for you. It's selfish. It's selfish in a good way. You're forgiving 100% for you. And the beauty of this system is you don't have to reach out and call them.
No.
No, you do it in the privacy of your own home, and you don't have to call anybody. Nobody has to know you're doing this. So that being said, you can forgive dead people because where they are or where they're not doesn't matter a lick. But if they're alive in your head and you're remembering the memories and thinking, well, I can't get justice anymore, sure you can. You can forgive them for you. Yes. 100% you can forgive them for you. It doesn't matter where they are.
Love this. I love this. We are going to take a quick break and we're going to come back and unpack the process of forgiveness. All right, we'll be right back.
Life in Stitches by CK Sims. Available for purchase in paperback and ebook on all major platforms. Partner today with CK Sims and Poddin My Noggin to get in front of an audience that cares. You will be supporting mental health stories, tales of resilience, and uplifting content, aligning your brand with bringing goodness, authenticity, and kindness front and center. This spot could be yours. Do you have a story of struggle and resilience? One that you want to share with others and possibly help someone through their own struggles? Find the link in the show description and fill out the guest form today.
Welcome back, everyone. Just before the break, we have been talking to Katharine Giovanni, a New Yorker who does not forget. And
well, I live in the South now, but yeah, I used to be a New Yorker.
Yeah, and someone who has great energy, and there's a lot of comparisons there. I love your use of the term dumpster fire. Love that. Katharine is a best-selling author. She has written 12 books, and her latest book that you can pick up is The Ultimate Path to Forgiveness, Unlocking Your Power.
That's right.
So, Katharine, let's say I came to you and I said, I'm angry, but I don't know at who or what. What would you say to that?
I would say, repeat after me.
Okay.
And I would have you say, I completely forgive myself for not being able to forgive and the energy around these thoughts. And I'd have you say that every day for the next week. And what's going to happen is your brain is the most amazing tool and it protects you. And it's going to look at you and say, oh, they're ready, finally. And it's going to open up that back closet in your brain that's been closed for all these years, and memories are going to start to flood out. And once the memories start to flood out, you're going to start thinking of memories and you're going to start thinking of names. And that's when I want you to start making your list. Because I have everybody make a list of all the people that they think they need to forgive and write them down. No judgment. Don't judge yourself. If you write a name down and if you write the name Jeff down and you don't remember a Jeff, leave it. There's obviously a Jeff in your past and at some point you were mad at the guy. Okay, just leave it. And then I want you to rate them from 1 to 10. 10 being awful, 1 being easy. Now you could have 7 number 5s. I don't care. You could skip a number. I also don't care. But I want you to start from the beginning and you work your way up. That's part of the method.
So the phrase that you said to repeat after you is, I forgive myself.
I completely forgive myself for not being able to forgive and the energy around this thought. And say that every day for a week.
Forgive myself for not being able to forgive and the energy around this thought. Interesting. I'm going to try that. And the reason I'm going to try that, I'm going to share something with you. So, on my podcast, I've talked about it many times. So life to me was pre 35 and then like post 35. Very two different lives. Okay.
Me too, actually. So yeah, we have that in common.
Yeah. So post 35 has been pretty wonderful if we look at the grand scheme of things. And I'm always finding myself being grateful and all of these things for everything that's happened and that I've done. One of the things that I do, and I know it's my brain trying to protect me somehow, but so I like to imagine things, events, my sort of form of manifestation, if you will, right? However, it does not, what's very frustrating, I try to be very calm and kind to myself all the time, but what I find myself doing often is that I cannot form a dream without adding some form of conflict. Okay. So if I'm thinking about, finding the man of my dreams, we are happy and we have the most incredible love, and then all of a sudden, like, he cheats on me, or the next thing the thoughts is he gets a terminal illness and dies, or it's something like that. Or I think about, having a podcast and it becoming very well known and turning it into a web show and all of these things. And then my executive producer sells me out and I lose everything. And there's this pattern of thought process where it's like I can get to a place where, I always have these wonderful, lovely, great things, but there always slides in this massive conflict, this life-shattering event. And so sometimes I get frustrated with myself because I'm like, okay, Curtis,
I can fix this.
Oh, okay. Well, then let me lean in. I'm here.
Everybody thinks with forgiveness, we just forgive people. Okay. But we can forgive anything.
Okay.
Including self-sabotaging, which is what you're doing. Now let's talk about forgiving the unforgivable, for example. You're not going to get a number 10 person down to a 1 in one sitting. Ain't going to happen. It's going to take a minute. This is shadow work. That's what most people call it, because you're working with the shadows of your past, right? And forgiving an unforgivable person, everybody has a different definition of unforgivable, but whatever you think is unforgivable, there are things in this world that are unforgivable. And if it's completely unforgivable for you, you don't have to forgive that person. You don't. I'm the only one that's going to say that to you. You don't have to forgive the unforgivable. May not even be appropriate, right? But there's other things you could forgive within that memory to release yourself. So let's use one of my memories, the bullies in grammar school. I couldn't forgive the actual bully. And I did this when I was in my 50s. I'm 63 now. But, a 50-something-year-old woman thinking of something that happened in the 1970s is ridiculous. It's ridiculous, but it was still tripping me up. Every time somebody talked about bullies, my brain would go right back. So I sat down and I couldn't even really forgive the energy around the bully because I just didn't want to be honest. I didn't want to. Didn't think they deserved it. See, I had the same bug everybody else does. So here's what I did. I sat down and I picked apart the memory. And I sat down and I forgave the school building and the energy around the school building. I forgave the desk, the table, the chair. I forgave the playground, the swing set. I forgave the actual block that it was on in New York. I forgave the date. I forgave the kids that stood around and didn't help, and the energy around all these things. Okay. And I did that every day until eventually I was able to get that number 10 down to a 9 and then down to an 8. And eventually I was able to forgive the actual bully. You can forgive anything. You can even forgive politicians, dare I say. You can forgive. We won't go there. You can forgive the war in the Middle East. What's that going to do for the war in the Middle East? Absolutely nothing. But it's going to do so many things for you. So what you're doing is you're sabotaging yourself for whatever reason. So when you sit down tonight, you say something like, I completely forgive myself for sabotaging myself. and I forgive the energy around this thought, and say that every night for 3 days. And then what's going to happen is that closet's going to open up, and I would be willing to bet you memories are going to probably pour out that you have forgotten. And that the original memory that's causing you to sabotage is probably a level 7, 8, 9, 10, and you've probably buried it. And that person is probably going to come out in your memories or your dreams. And that's when you think, okay, that's why. That was the flashpoint. That's why I'm doing this. So you just have to work with forgiving that person and just pick apart the memories as they come and forgive the bed, the table, the chair, the bench. I forgave 1974. And I've picked apart 1974, but that's the year I tried to commit suicide. And the aspirin, would it have killed me? Maybe. I mean, there were 150 of them there. I was sure would have made me really sick. But I was in the 8th grade. I thought it would kill me. What did I know? I was a kid. And I forgave 1974 because it was still tripping me up. And I forgave the energy around 1974. So for anybody who's thinking that I'm completely out of my mind crazy, I have science to back myself up. If you Google the Japanese water study, you will, and it's right online. It's a guy named Matsumoto something. I can't pronounce his name. I can't remember his name to save my soul, but it's the Japanese water study. It's right online. And what this guy, when people say anger is toxic, here's the how. He took several containers of water, right? One container of water, all he did was talk to it. And he spoke beautiful, loving words at this water. The other container of water, he spoke hate to it. Horrible, horrible words. The worst words he could think of. Then he froze the water and he put it under a microscope. The water he spoke love to had these beautiful, beautiful formations. Pictures are right online. The water he spoke negative things to and hate-filled had these malformations, these black and brown, kind of twisted looking nasty things. Why am I telling you this? Your body is over 95% water. So when your self-talk is bad, when you're sabotaging, when you're angry and you're filled with all of these kinds of negative emotions, what do you think you're doing to the water cells in your body? As you forgive, you're actually going to transmute those water cells. And there's a reason why in the book I tell you, just please don't do more than 5 or 10 at a time because you'll make yourself sick. I am an overachiever. Shocker, I know. And when I sat down to do this method, I must have had 50 names on my list. And I thought, this is going to be great. I'm going to be like a phoenix rising from the ashes. I'm going to fix everything in one night. And I did it before bed because your body heals itself while it sleeps. So it didn't work out the way I thought it would. I did forgive many people on the list. But I spent the next 3 days in bed with what everybody thought was a stomach flu. It was not the stomach flu. It was actually my body trying to transmute all those water cells that I had just cleared. So when you forgive, most people feel really, really tired, which is why I want you to do it before bed. My older son said his shoulders felt lighter, and he's a federal law enforcement officer. And he said, my shoulders shouldn't have anything to do with it. He said, but they felt lighter. Some people might be in the bathroom for a little bit, politely said. You did not eat a piece of bad fish. It's just your body trying to clear out decades of nasty stuff, shall we politely say. So this is real stuff. It's like the law of gravity. This works. But I do want you to take it in small chunks. And it's a very simple mantra that I'll have you say. Put your hand in your heart. And you don't have to dance unless you want to. You don't have to hold crystals or burn sage unless you really like sage and you like crystals. Knock yourself out. I mean, that's fine. But you don't have
a good crystal, but
that's right. I want you to sit in the middle of your bed. I want you to be alone. I would like you to turn your phones off. There's an off button on the phone. Does everybody know that there's a button that you can turn it off? And if that leaves you cold and you're starting to get the shakes, mute it. But it's just, I just want you to be alone for 20 minutes. And then I want you to take the first person on your list, the easy one, the person that cut you off on I-95 South yesterday. You can forgive them. Or the person who stole your sandwich out of the lunch refrigerator at work yesterday. Come on. I know they do it all the time, but you can forgive that person. They were hungry. Come on. How about the person who cut you off on aisle 4 of the grocery store with their grocery cart? Come on. She was a 95-year-old lady. You can forgive her. Start with that, okay? And I want you to imagine the person is in front of you. And I want you to think of people from the sandbox from when you were a kid all the way up to present day. But I want you to start with the easy ones. And I want you to imagine the person as they were when you knew them. So if you were 10 years old, I want you to see that 10-year-old kid in front of you. If you can't imagine the person in your mind's eye, get a chair and talk to the chair. I'm actually not kidding. You can even put the person's name on the chair if you want to. If you have things to say to this person, knock yourself out. Yell, scream, cry, sing. It's your party. You're alone. You can do anything you want. Once you've gotten it out, or you may not think anything, you might be the easiest person in the world. Then I want you to say, I completely forgive CK. I forgive the energy around CK. I completely forgive myself. I forgive the energy around myself. I completely forgive the energy around the entire thing. And then check in with your body. How do you feel? Do you feel like they've been forgiven? I did this with a friend, and she thought this was a level 1 person, and she did exactly what I told her. And she said, I'm angry. I said, what do you mean you're angry? She said, I'm angry now. Well, she cleared, this is like an onion, and she cleared the first onion layer. So she didn't realize she was angry. So that level 1 person got bumped up to a 6. Happens. Keep a piece of paper. There's worksheets in the book, and just keep going. This stuff really works, 100%.
And where can people find your book? Is it on Amazon?
It's on Amazon, and I also have the audiobook available because I do understand not everybody likes to read. So my younger son and I did it, and I'm still talking to the kids. So, there you go. It's not as easy. When you see those animated films and you think it must be so easy just to read the script, I'm here to tell you, it's harder than you think. It really is.
I believe you.
It is harder than you think. It took us a while to do both books, but the ebook, the paperback, and the audiobook are all available on Amazon and my website as well.
Well, you've piqued my interest because 2 things came up there. So, just what you're saying makes sense to me because, trauma, for instance, we hold that in our bodies and it stays there until it's released.
It stays.
Right? So it's the same with anger and forgiveness. Unless we release the energy, then it stays with us. So that's the thing. So yeah, we hold that trauma in our bodies, but then also for me, I totally buy into the fact that this is something like an exercise, a repetitive exercise, because that's how I fixed my life. And how I'm here today is cognitive restructuring and retraining my brain to think neutral or positive as opposed to a shit show. Katharine, it has been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you again for being here today. Wish you nothing but the best. Everyone go out and pick up The Ultimate Path to Forgiveness, Unlocking Your Power by Katharine C. Giovanni. Everyone out there, go out there and live your wildest dreams. Until next time.
For media and sponsorship inquiries, email info@cksims.com or visit cksims.com and fill out the contact form. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. A new episode airs every Saturday. CKS Media.